let's talk about integrated systems technician. But the one thing we want to talk about to begin with is the state of bachelor's degrees in the community college environment. This has become something very interesting in the past 10 to 15 years as more and more states are allowing community colleges to offer baccalaureate degrees or 4-year degrees at their level. So in the state that I can tell right now, about 24 states in the union allow for baccalaureate degrees or 4-year degrees. And right now, about 130 different community colleges are offering those. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is the impact of that, or what do we know right now. Anything right now, this is very volatile, and at the time of this recording, July 2023, that's what this is right now. It may change, but watch this couple years now. It's going to be different. The big thing to realize is states are controlling this just like they should. The states are actually really making sure that they are looking at the needs of their state and identifying, again, what's the turf wars that may happen at those states. And it's one of the things that makes this very complicated to go through the paths, is making sure the states are being taken care of. And right now, out of the 24 states that have 4-year baccalaureate degrees in community college, only a handful of those schools are actually allowed to offer them. So Ohio was probably one of the most recent additions to this. And
does Columbus State, they offer baccalaureate degrees? No, they don't, not yet. They will probably be pretty soon. I know that a school between Columbus State and Dayton, Clark State, just offered a baccalaureate degree, and we're offering a baccalaureate degree. So we're trying to, we're adding more and more institutions very slowly. This is the crux of it. Community college bachelor's degrees are designed to meet the need of local workforce needs and expanding access to 4-year degrees to a broad range of students. When we think about the objective of community colleges with 4-year degrees, it's really trying to avoid those landmines that are being talked about in the news media. So if you think about what's being talked about right now and all the blogs about education, there's a lot of hit on the 4-year degrees, and we're trying to avoid those. And we're trying to design to meet, of course, what community colleges do best, a local workforce and impacting what they need. So because of that, why should we allow bachelor's degrees at the community college? First off, community colleges historically have met the local needs the quickest. We tend to pivot a little faster than our university partners. And universities tend to have a long-term history of academic freedom, and that sometimes disconnects them from the industry, whereas community colleges, we tend to be right there in the trenches with the community. Expanding access to bachelor's degrees to a diverse and non-traditional student population. This is something that is very important that some of our state schools still struggle with. At Sinclair Community College, we have the average class size of 30. So if you're taking a Chemistry 101 class, that's with 30 students, not 300. And that allows me to have a far more intimate relationship with my students than at a larger university. Also, most community colleges, the faculty is teaching, not a teaching assistant. So we're able to reach some of those diverse populations. Another one here, and this is a volatile one, but one that is always brought up. A bachelor's degree at a community college could be more affordable. Most of us tend to have a little cheaper overhead running because we don't have the research capacities that universities have. And because of that, community colleges tend to be able to run bachelor's degrees a little cheaper than the universities. Now, what are the pitfalls? What are the things that we've got to think about? If your state or school is going to start running bachelor's degrees, what are the landmines that we're going to hit that are going to blow up the whole thing? First and foremost, we want to keep the bachelor's degree within the scope of our community college. We are in IT, we know what scope creep is. We know how bad scope creep is, right? We don't like scope creep. We want to make sure that the bachelor's degree is in line with the mission and objectives of that community college. Along with that, we want to keep those academic partners, and we want to keep the academic transition there. Most of us that work at a community college I have 5 universities that are within 30 minutes of my community college campus. That's 5 different organizations that I have to collaborate with. And the faculty and the culture of each one of those organizations, I want to make sure that when I incorporate a new bachelor's degree, it's in line and doesn't step on those situations. So if you're thinking about bringing in a bachelor's degree, make sure you have a working relationship with those universities. I can pick up the phone right now and I can call Wright State, University of Cincinnati, University of Dayton. I can call those partners up, and without even having to have a formal email, we can have a conversation and see how they feel about something. Also, I still want to be able to keep that transition, so the students going from a bachelor or from an associate's degree to a bachelor's degree, those credits will still transfer, because I'm not offering a bachelor's degree that they offer. And I want the students that want to maintain those things to have access to it. And then finally, we need to make sure there's only so many resources inside a state. We're all fighting for the same pot of money. And if we're not careful, we can increase the cost and stretch the resources and capacity a little bit. So again, it goes back to the relationship with your universities, and make sure you have the relationships there, that everybody understands their lane and understands how to maintain those. Now, as a case study for this, I want to talk about Sinclair's Integrated Systems Technician. We look at the framework we just talked about, a 4-year bachelor's degree offered at a community college with community college resources that's not currently offered at any universities. This is a good case study. Now, we want to call this IoT, but IoT is, Bill and I were talking about this as we're teaching the class. It's a big consumer term. They don't use it in the industry. The industry, it's automation, it's integrated systems technician, and a lot of times it's been housed in our engineering field, predominantly electrical engineering. But what's happening in the past decade is, as we started adding more things to our networks, our network technicians have had to learn engineering, and engineering has had to learn networking. Now, and read you my bio, I always used to tell people, I'm not an IT technician. I'm an AV nerd. I'm the guy who used to push TVs around campus and plug them into walls and turn on the VCRs for people. Well, what happened in the early 2000s? Everything got integrated onto the TCP/IP stack. Cool. So now I've got to take an IT guy who's overworked and try to teach him AV with low latency? It was impossible. So I flipped it. I took the AV work and went and learned IT. And now I'm teaching IT, and it's really humorous. All right, so let's talk about what we accomplished here. We took the framework of electronics and robotics. We added the programming, data analytics, and networking, and then the all-encompassing buzzword of cybersecurity, which is not a discipline, it's a way of life. And we added to everything. All right, so what is the purpose of this? IST will train students in technology related to industrial IoT. Doo, doo, doo. Now, because this is a great little niche market, right? If you go talk to any university, you go, are you doing IoT? They're going to go, no. They're not doing robotics. They're not doing IoT. They're doing other engineering, high-level engineering stuff. I need a technician who can go out to that robot and understand the sensors on that robot and support it and get the data off of it. That's a technician's role, not an engineer's role. So, the IoT requires several areas of knowledge. We just talked about hardware, computer programming, and cybersecurity. Hey, guess what? All those were in my programs, are all in my classes. The first 2 years don't have to create anything. The program is ready to go. So when we look at the life cycle here, what are we trying to accomplish with this degree? We have the factory floor, we have the robotics, we have the sensors, we have the actuators, everything that's on that robotics floor. We've got to pull the data off of it through automation and data acquisition. By the way, we call that cloud computing, right? That's the big one. Have you seen where the buzzwords come into play? Who is in Azure training right now? And who's in AWS? Can we have a ring match after the end of August? Friday, 2 o'clock, ring match out in the Commons. Who's gonna win?
Work better together.
Oh, the politician in the room. We work better together. Yes, we do. Okay. All right, so we have the automation, the data acquisition. That is where we live, right? That is the area that we need to make camp as IT technicians. We need to work with our engineers because they understand the sensors, actuators, Ohm's law, which in my IoT class we talked about. I hate Ohm's law, but we take that and then we pull the data off of those information, data processing. We add it to the cloud, infrastructure design, and then we feed it over to business to make decisions from. You see how this lives really well in a community college environment. So if we look at the first and second degree, the first and second years of the associate's degree, those probably look like most of you guys' classes right now. A little differences here. We have network fundamentals, AC/DC currents, and robotics in the first term. Second term, we're getting more into the data technology, information system analysis and design. That's a basically project management course. Our students are all like, we're never going to need system analysis and design. It's a life cycle of a project. You're going to need that. All right. And then finally, 3 is data management, teaching, independent programming. So you see how we've taken all these different disciplines, add them together to make a new associate's degree. That associate's degree is then stacked into the bachelor's degree. So if we have a student who just wants to get associates, we got it for them. If they want to continue on with the bachelor's, it's ready to go. This is where it gets money because we've got to bring in, these are classes we're beginning to make. We have cloud, we have cloud infrastructure. What are some of the advanced Python for data? We don't have that class yet. We're offering the bachelor's. We're writing the class. So you see where we're having to kind of work ahead. Cloud IoT developer. That's a whole lot more robust than my Arduino class. That's a lot more integration, a lot more electronics. We need the earlier scaffolding of the robotics and AC/DC circuits to make that cloud IoT developer. By the way, what's going to be part of that IoT cloud developer? Cybersecurity. Throw that in, you get a grant. Okay. Any questions over that? How we structured that? All right. Finally, stackable academic credentials. This is the area that we need to also keep in mind in the community college environment. We really specialize in the postgraduate world. Think about that. If you're anything like Sinclair, 25% of your students already have a bachelor's degree. For 25% of your students, you are the postgraduate program. This is where cybersecurity is going to be in the next 10 years. Getting someone who's working in the industry, bring them back in, let me give them a stackable cybersecurity certificate and put them back out in the industry. All right, so we have a 1-year stackable certificate, an associate's degree, then a bachelor's degree. All those line up to those industry certifications that students can get. And if you notice, when they're coming out the other end, we can meet them at any stage of their life they want to go into the program with. We're not making them do it right out of high school or before they go into the workforce. We can meet them at where they're at in their life and add on this integrated systems technician degree. And so that's why it's kind of beneficial. And we already have students who have an associate's degree. We can add those classes in and make them get a bachelor's degree if they want to get a bachelor's degree from us. So that's kind of the case study on that. So the outcomes, standard stuff that people like to see, numbers, salary, $52,000 to $75,000 a year. Pretty good, especially for a community college with zero debt coming out. And then 6% of these regularly posted IoT jobs require a bachelor's degree. That's the other side, that we keep seeing requirements for bachelor's degrees for these kind of jobs. And again, they're not making bachelor's degrees for them. All right, that's all I've got. Any questions?